Namaste and good morning. I, Chavi Jain, researcher at IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, Prabhav Evam Niti Anusandhan Sansthan, Nai Delhi, extend my warmest welcome to you all to IMPRI #Web Policy Talk. Today, we have gathered here for a special talk on environmental governance in India with Professor Krishna Raj. This discussion is a part of the series #Planet Talks, organized by IMPRI, Center for Environment, Climate Change, and Sustainable Development. It is my honor to introduce our speaker for today, Professor Krishna Raj. Sir is a professor at Center for Economic Studies and Policy, Institute for Social and Economic Change, ISEC, Bengaluru. And he is specialized in the area of urban water in Bengaluru and NYC in forest and biodiversity. Earlier, Sir was an Indian Economy Chair Professor at Hankook University of Foreign Studies, HUFS, Seoul, and visiting scholar at University of Wisconsin, USA. A very warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you.
Now, I invite our moderator, Dr. Simi Mehta, CEO and Editorial Director at IMPRI, to proceed with the deliberation. Thank you, ma'am, and over to you.
Thank you, Chavi, and good morning to everyone. It is indeed a pleasure to have Professor Krishna Raj for this very important discussion on environmental governance. So truly, we have recently seen how the first report of the 6th assessment report of the IPCC this year vividly highlighted the dilemmas arising from the environment development discourse. And this is the reason perhaps why governance of the natural environment has emerged as one of the most complex challenges which is being faced by the humanity. So there are several questions that arise as to how does the state become a factor in environmental and sustainability politics? What is the role that the Indian state, the judiciary, and also the civil society that have played so far? What is the role that the international community of nations play or have played to ensure that there is transparency and accountability by all countries, including India, in their environmental governance? To what extent these norms and international treaties and agreements, are they equitable? There are various questions further that arise are what are the limitations as to the dilemmas, and also what are the hopes, because the hopes of the people at large, at least 9 billion people so far, by 2050 that we are it is predicted that we'll be adding to the planet. How can these aspirations be realized? What are the viable strategies that are needed to maintain a balance between ecology and equity? So these are very pertinent questions as to how we are going forward in the Sustainable Development Goal era. And to get some answers to these questions and also perhaps beyond, I am so delighted that we have amongst us the expert Professor Krishna Raj from ISEC, who would be taking us through all these aspects as part of the #Planet Talks for the State of the Environment series under the Center for Environment, Climate Change and Sustainable Development at IMPRI. So thank you so much, sir. I really welcome you and I invite you to begin your presentation. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Simi Mehta, for your heartfelt welcome to the talk on the environmental governance in India under your prestigious talk program. And as you rightly mentioned, the world is facing unprecedented environmental crises and issues. As you rightly mentioned, the IPCC AR6 report has highlighted how the planet Earth is having a threat from the global warming. Actually, my lecture will be focusing more or less on the same topic, but I'll be dealing with a good number of issues surrounding the environmental governance in India. I will be focusing more on the interaction between the economy and the environment, and how governance system in India works, and how the institutions which are associated with the environmental governance are playing their role in conserving and enhancing the resource base of the India, keeping in mind the neo-liberalized economic policies, how they are playing a dominant role in the governance of environmental resources. Let me share my screen and start my presentation.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Is it visible?
Yes, it is visible. Thank you. You can, sir, you can use the arrows which is there on the left-hand side bottom.
Yeah, but the one bar, it is there, no? I'm just showing it is blocking a part of the presentation. I'm just taking it to the side, if possible. Is it okay now?
It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, the title of my presentation, as we already discussed in the flyer itself, environmental governance in India, especially in the context of the state of the environment in India. Every one of us understood the interrelationship between economy and environment. In this context, the essence of the issue of environmental governance is the way the government and societies deal with the environmental problems. This lecture provides macro view discourse about the economy and environment in India and the way they interact, both economy and environment interact, and resulted in the present state of the environment. In other words, the lecture focuses on a detailed review about the current state of environmental governance in India. The environmental governance of India is reflected by environmental governance systems. The environmental governance system includes the government, the judiciary, the local government, the civil societies, and the various actors, including producers, the consumers, and the industries, corporate sector, and international organizations, and all. How they play and influence the various policies of the government in the world, and also at the regional level, and at the same time at the national level. The lecture also highlights the macro perspectives of the environmental governance in India. When we come to the definitional part of environmental governance, the environmental governance is synonymous with the interventions aiming at changes in the environment-related incentives, knowledge, institutions, decision-making, and behaviors. Specifically, environmental governance refers to the set of regulatory processes, mechanisms, and organizations through which political actors influence environmental actions and outcomes. So environmental governance, briefly, how the government and the civil societies, they interact each other to demand a particular policies for welfare of the people, and at the same time how these policies affect the both present as well as future generation, whether they are having positive or negative impact on the welfare of the people. So the outcome of the any policy is discussed in the framework of environmental governance. So when we understanding the environmental governance of India, we just cannot neglect the role of economy. So the economy and the environment, they closely interact each other. The outcome is the either economic development at the cost of environmental degradation, or both can act together in tandem, and they can also have a sustainable development. But what is the state of the economy and environment in India is the big question we need to ask, and also at the same time try to answer such questions. It is the common belief that economics or economy is the root of the environmental problems. Most of us, we understand that economic activities are the root cause of the environmental problems. In this regard, there is a urgent need to understand the impact of the economy on environment, the significance of the environment to economy. There are two issues one need to understand. One is that the impact of the economy on the environment on the one hand, on the other hand, the significance or the importance of the environment to the economy. So the economy cannot work without the environment, and without the support of environment, the economy cannot survive. So at the same time, if we leave environment intact without affecting it, and the economy cannot thrive. So we need to balance both the economy and the environment in such a way that each other will not be gets affected. Each other will not be getting affected. So what are the appropriate way of regulating economic activity so that the balance is achieved among environmental, economic, and other social goals? Yes, we understood. So without economy, most of the environmental issues are simply research questions for scientists with no policy significance. So therefore, economy is also very important, because the man ultimately depends not only the environment, but also most importantly, economy. So economy and the environment both are important for the very survival of human being. Therefore, the essence of the environmental problem is the economy, but economics has some appropriate solutions to many environmental problems we face today, including climate change. The twin problems of capitalism. So we are in the era of capitalism. It has created a twin problem. So one is that economic inequality and environmental degradation. So capitalism or free market economy is accepted as economic system for economic development. In the market economy, majority of the capital goods are owned by private individuals or business. The production of goods and services is based on the forces of supply and demand in the market economy. Government has no or little control over the market economy. This has led to economic or income inequality in the world, and second, environmental degradation. The first one is that there is a growing income inequality in the world. The second one is that there is a drastic reduction or degradation of environmental resources. So when we come to the research and the debate which is going on in the world, there is a huge gap in literature in this regard. whether the economy is sustainable enough to safeguard the environmental resources or not. At the same time, whether the environment in which we are living is safe enough to secure our health, secure our resources, and secure our livelihoods, secure our welfare is the another big question. In this regard, there is a huge gap in literature. It calls for wider debate on whether world's remarkable achievement in economic growth as reflected in its environmental outcome or income inequality. Environmental outcome and also income inequality. These two issues are emerged in recent times due to a rapid economic development under capitalism. One is that environmental degradation, another one is income inequality. So in our lecture today, we focus more on environmental degradation due to the policies of neoliberalism policies, or neoliberalism or neoliberalist policies. Economic development versus environmental sustainability. So is there any relationship between these two? The relationship between economic growth and environmental sustainability has been a subject of intense discussion in recent decades. Researchers argue that economic policies encourage economic growth, impinging on environmental degradation, whereas environmental policies shelter environment, hindering economic development. So this is the a debate which is going on for the last 7 decades. So the main discourse is on that economic policies encouraging economic growth, they destroy the environment, whereas environmental policies on the other hand, they alter economic development, which is true. So which sector is being affected, whether the economy is being affected or environment is being affected? Further, it augurs that economic and environmental policies have definite but quite different objectives to achieve their own goals. Therefore, they always diverge and non-converge. The economic policies and environmental policies, they have definite targets or definite goals or objectives. The economic policy main objective is to have more growth, more development, more resource exploitation, and also creating more man-made assets and human assets. On the other hand, environmental policies, they focus more on developing or enhancing or conserving the natural resource base. But the economy relies on natural resource base to thrive or develop or grow. So in this way, the economic and environmental policies, they are in conflict. They are in such a way that they work in such a way that they always create more conflicts than resolving the development versus environmental conservation issues. But there are pragmatic environmental policies, and there are pragmatic economic and environmental policies that they provide the platform, they provide the a discourse where both can converge, not diverge. But in reality, their convergence highly benefit each other in realizing both economic development and environmental conservation, that is succinctly called as sustainable development. If the economy follows the sustainable principles, sustainable development principles, both environment as well as economic development can go hand in hand without affecting each other. In this context, natural resources are essential not only for sustaining life, but also act as crucial input for economic growth. That is, this has to be understood by the policymakers and also the government at large, and also people at large. What is the essence of the economy and environment? The essence of the economy is that natural resources are providing crucial inputs for the economy or economic growth. At the same time, natural resources are very important for the well-being of the people. When we understand the role of the environment and the economic growth which depends on natural resources, most of the issues, most of the conflicts, most of the discussion which we are taking place today because of environmental degradation would have been resolved. But the problem in this world is that we continue to rely on economic development. We continue to depend on economic growth. We continue to appreciate the economic growth at the cost of environmental degradation. If you look at this economic growth in recent times, economies expand with
So, are you there? Is there a problem? Yeah, I guess there is some internet connectivity issue with Professor Raj. He should join us shortly. Until then, we can have Mohan sir in the panel. Yeah. Yeah. Good morning, Mohan sir. If you can turn on your video. And so far, if good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, sir. Thank you.
Happy to join again.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you again, sir. Yes, I mean, in the meantime, when Professor Raj joins us back, perhaps we could also hear your views on, sir was talking about the neoliberal conundrum with respect to with respect to the environmental development. Since you are in the forest services, how do you see this playing out? Would you like to share your views on that, sir?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Good morning, all the listeners, and Simi, Ms. Chavi, and Mr. Rao. Yeah, I just started listening. Actually, the debate is quite, quite controversial and quite important. And I would like to say, many times we are using this debate for many purposes. Maybe just sometime to brainwash ourselves, just sometime to brainwash of the public, and just sometime for real purposes, and so that we can take out, or we can really take out of crux of the matter, and we can say that yes, it has something. I think Professor Krishna Raj can continue. I think let him continue first because
Yeah. So you can continue.
I'm sorry, there was a disconnection in the internet.
No problem, sir. No problem. So we have Mohan Chandra Pargai, sir. He is in the Indian Forest Services, joining us from Telangana.
Okay.
Sir,
good morning, Professor Raj.
Thank you, Professor, for joining, Mohan Chandra.
Yes. So, sir will continue after you have presented, and then we can discuss. Thank you so much.
Just let me share again. So quickly, I will go. Okay. So I was talking about how economies expand with continuous depletion in the natural resource base due to continuous interaction between economy and environment, and how economic development aimed at continuous augmentation of human and man-made capital at the cost of natural capital. If you look at the various environmental policies in India, how they are historically being considered as they are pro-growth or pro-environment. Let us understand in brief how these environmental policies have been framed in India since the British period. In 1856, Lord Dalhousie introduced forest policy for the supply of timber for Indian railways, and the Indian teak was exploited for shipbuilding in England. Later in 1865, the Indian Forest Act of 1865 serves the British colonial claims over forests in India. In 1878, there was Forest Act, which established the colonial government control over the forestry and declared the customary use of forest by the villagers was not a right, but a privilege that could be withdrawn at will of the state. So it means that in the 1878, the forests are completely controlled or under the control of government, colonial governments, and only the usufructs rights of people were given. But it's not a right, but it is a only privilege, and which can be withdrawn at the will of the government. Later in 1927, Indian Forest Act established there was 3 categories of forest: reserve forest, protected forest, and village forest. Later, after India's independence in 1952, the national interests were prioritized and declared as a national assets or local priorities and interest. In 1976, the National Commission on Agriculture observed that production of industrial wood was the priority. There was a 42nd amendment to the Constitution, and forests are transferred from the state list to the concurrent list. The role of the central government in the management of forest is emphasized. Later in 1980s, there was a Forest Conservation Act 1980, focused on conservation and prevention of deforestation with 4 objectives: strict regulation on the use of forest land for non-forest purposes, preventing the de-reservation of forest, restricting the leasing of forest land, preventing clear felling of naturally grown trees. So these were some objectives of the Forest Conservation Act. And the decisions about forest land use is solely with the Union government. Later, there were other acts like Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Environmental Protection Act 1986, and there was also National Forest Policy in 1988. So in this forest policy, we can see there was a paradigm shift in the approach towards management of forest and conservation of forest. The main objective was to ensure bona fide requirements of the forest dependent community, at the same time protection of the environment. So in this way, a paradigm shift in the forest policies have been taken place. Some of the other acts, including the Biodiversity Protection Act 2003, and recently in 2006, Scheduled Tribes and other forest dwellers recognition of forest right acts was introduced, which protects the rights of the forest dwellers residing in the forest or forest lands. So in a nutshell, what we can understand is that even today, the forests are the assets of the government. The forests are being completely under the control of government, which is controlling the conservation and afforestation, and also the biodiversity, which are being threatened due to economic development. They are being controlled by the government and its institutions, including Forest Department, Central Pollution Control Board, and State Pollution Control Boards, and through various acts, rules, and regulations. If you look at the broader objectives of the national environmental policies, conservation of critical environmental resources, intragenerational equity, livelihood security for the poor, intergenerational equity, integration of environmental concerns in economic and social development, efficiency in environmental resource use, environmental governance or good decision making, enhancement of resources for environmental resource conservation. So these objectives are very, very in broad perspective. What we can say is that they are on the path of sustainable development. The objectives are very clear and well designed. If they are being implemented in toto, in complete sense, they would have achieved the economic development on the path of sustainable development. So what went wrong? That is the issue here. If you look at the recent environmental impact assessment policy or environmental impact assessment notification 2006, that was amended by the central government, which has circulated in 2020, that states that it stated that the rational processes and the implementation of the various decisions of the courts. So it means that it wants to integrate various decisions of the courts and also rationalize the policies or streamline the policies by keeping in mind the various court decisions. I'm also the member of the NGT, National Green Tribunal. We know how the NGT works when compared to the various environmental policies of the government. They are being actually implemented. So if you look at very closely about these policies, a closer look reveals measures that do not align with some of the fundamental principles of the environmental governance. If you closely look at these policies, especially environmental impact assessment, it is not in align with the objectives of the national environmental policies. So EIA, Environmental Impact Assessment, came at a time where unintended impacts of uncontrolled environmental degradation are felt by every community, every sector, every region. So environmental impact assessment frames the flow of information leading up to the decision to grant or reject environmental clearance to a project. So the long-term direct and indirect impacts on complex ecosystem and livelihood need to be understood in deciding whether to grant clearance and under what conditions we need to discuss. So this type of myopic policies like environmental impact assessment, which is highly flexible enough to give a freedom to establish an industry without the clearance from the CPCB or state pollution control boards, or even by the forest department. So that may lead to a lot of environmental degradation further. Already we have a limited environmental resource base, particularly in Himalayan and Western Ghat patches. So this is how the governance environmental governance is being altered or changed or implemented in India. At the same time, we need to understand the problem of pollution, how the pollution they are being understood, how they are being defined, how they are being controlled or regulated, like that. So under this circumstance, especially when there are more demand for environmental resource base for use or economic use. So there is an urgent need to understand how we are defining the environmental policies in India, how they are being governed in India. So what are the incentives for the generation of pollution? Are there any incentives which are adversely affecting? Are there any incentives which are supporting the conservation? We need to understand, being economist. What are the costs of cleaning up pollution? What are the societal gains from the pollution control? What are the right balance between cost of pollution and control and gains from control? What are regulatory mechanisms can be designed to ensure the right balance between costs and gains? Therefore, there are some methods available in environmental economics, that is valuation methods, that needs to be integrated, integral part of the environmental conservation. So including environmental impact assessment should be based on cost benefit analysis, taking into account the valuation methods that may give a proper way, proper policy suggestion for the better environmental governments. This leads to environmental policy and regulation. So at the same time, there is a challenge for determining the pollution and pollutants. The challenge of determining the right amount of pollution, the challenge of assessing the damage from pollution, the challenge of estimating environmental compensation. So these are also very important when environmental governance needs to be strengthened in India. But the determining the right of amount of pollution is not easy, as pollution is generated as a byproduct of producing goods. Determining the right amount of pollution also involves determining damages from the pollution. For example, pollution of lakes, counting the dead fish, planktons, or polluted lake, or determining the level of pollution at which people began to get sick. So we cannot take one a component as a pollution, say for example dead fish. So we need to consider planktons. They are also important for the growth of the fish. At the same time, polluted lake is also very important for the farmer, whether he can use the water for his agriculture crops, like that. So when we are defining the environmental pollution and its parameters, its amount and its extent of damage, etc. So one needs to have a broader view on the pollution. Then only the environmental governance will be more pro-economic development as well as environmental conservation. So after taking some of these issues into consideration, the economic itself has several policy suggestions to overcome that type of environmental pollution. That can be understood through the concepts of externalities and public goods, and also the Piguan taxes. given taxes. So how much time shall I have, Dr. Simi? Shall I go for another 10 minutes or 5 minutes? What exactly? How much time is
Yes,
available?
sir. Yes, 10 minutes would be good. Sure.
Okay, thank you. So environmental management needs to be centralized or focused on economic theory, can have a pragmatic approach to conserve the environment. So if you look at the India's pursuit of economic development in India, we are focusing more on GDP growth rather than sustainable development. So our focus is on the growth of GDP in terms of economic growth, not in the perspective of economic development or long-term perspective of economic development. So at the same time, India's growth, if you look at India's growth path before and after liberalization, the environmental resources are better conserved and better secured, and there is good health among the urbanates, and water resources are being conserved, forest resources are being conserved. So after liberalization, after 1991, the environmental degradation has been very rapid, and this has resulted in enhancement of man-made capital and human capital at the cost of natural capital. So this clearly shows that the economic policies are moving on the path of a weak sustainable school that prescribes the economy can grow at the cost of environmental resources as long as the overall value of the economic assets are increasing over a period of time. So for example, if you take three important capitals, man-made capital, human capital, and natural capital, in case there is a degradation of natural capital, that has been compensated by the enhancement of man-made capital and human capital, that would be fine according to weak sustainability school. But in case of strong sustainability school, they argue that the natural capital cannot be a substitute for man-made and human capital. So natural capital has its own characteristics, it has its own functions, and it cannot be replicated or replaced by the man-made capital and human capital. So therefore, natural capital has a definite role to play in economic development and well-being of the people. So in this regard, if you take one example of the economic policies, how they destroyed the environment in India. So the misguided economic policies such as go first, clean later has already endangered the environment and human well-being in India. For example, the National Mission for Clean Ganga, with a huge project cost of rupees 20,000 crore, is an example of the environmental cost of myopic economic growth. The National Green Tribunal has declared the mission failure, saying not a single drop of water of Ganga has been cleaned, even though 20,000 crores has been used for the cleaning Ganga project. So in this way, the neoliberal economic policies of capitalism has been degrading the natural capital to enhance the man-made capital. So there are, as a result, if you look at the environmental performance index in 2020, what it, how India stands in the environmental performance index. So as per the 2020 environmental performance index framework, the framework organizes 32 indicators. There are 32 indicators into 11 issues. There are 11 issues are being identified, and 2 policy objectives. One is environmental health and economic vitality, with weights shown at the each level as percentage of the total scores. So this is the score for each categories. If you look at the each score, for example, ecosystem vitality, 60% score is given. For environmental health, it is 40% score is given. The environmental health, including PM 2.5 exposure, 11%, household solid fuels, 8%, ozone, sanitation, drinking water, lead, solid waste, like that. So ecosystem, fisheries, ecosystem services, forest biodiversity, habitats, climate change, etc., like this. So they have computed environmental performance index for various countries in the world. So India is ranked 168th country out of 180 country. So India scored 27.6 out of 100 total score. In 2006, India's score was much better. That was 47.7 out of 132 countries. India stood at 118. Now India stands at 168th country out of 180. Its EPA score is 27.6. What it conveys? So India has low EPA scores that indicate the need for sustainability of ecosystem, with a high priority focusing on critical issues such as air, water quality, biodiversity, and climate change. So India is sacrificing environmental sustainability for economic security, or vice versa. Whether we want economic development at the cost of environment, or we need environmental sustainability. At the same time, there are millions of poor people are there. So the government needs to strike a balance between these two important issues. One is, on the one hand, we need economic development. On the other hand, at the same time, we need environmental sustainability. So environmental economists inform the policymakers on the cost of environmental risks and the benefits of reducing them, the cost of risk mitigation or remediation options, and the distributional effects of these outcome, both economic and environmental outcome. So even some of my research works, both in article or in the popular article, we have stated that our growth path is environmentally unsustainable, and the institutions governing the environment, they are highly being suffocated because the government is prioritizing economic development for environmental resource conservation. So this has been reflected in climate change in India, and India is highly vulnerable to climate change. And the India's economic growth path is certainly unsustainable for the well-being of the people, and the environmental costs are being imposed in terms of health and other environmental resource costs, like purifying the water and non-availability of essential resources such as the air for breathing in cities. Recently, we have noticed in Delhi how breathing is difficult for Delhi people because of high environmental pollution, Delhi air pollution. So even though there are policies for financing climate change, financing environmental conservation, they are inadequate given the rapid depletion of environmental resource space. There are efforts to bring the economy and economic development on the path of green economy, and also there are efforts at the policy to make present GDP into green GDP, but still the policies are not in a position to bring such drastic decisions. Whereas in case of European countries, they have already under the green path, green economic principles are being implemented in UNDP countries. And this is really a concern for India. Environmental governance is a real concern for India. And so in this regard, there is an urgent need to restructure the economy and economic policies, which need to give attention to both environmental conservation, at the same time economic development on the path and principles of sustainable principles and sustainable development principles enshrined in the report, United Nations report, which is popularly known as Our Common Future, United Nations report on environment and development, published in 1987 by the Brundtland Commission. In this way, we need to achieve economic development in India, keeping in mind environmental resource conservation and enhancing the resource base, and keeping the environmental resource not only for present as well as future generation. So I'll stop here, and thank you, Simi, Dr. Simi Mehta, and also Dr. Arjun for providing me to share some of my views on the environmental governance in India, the state of the environment.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Very fascinating lecture, and so much of in-depth analysis that has gone into your lecture is really very inspiring. Thank you for your thoughts and for presenting really complicated issues in a very simple manner. And I really learned a lot. And in fact, well, there are some questions that I have been thinking about, or which has been bothering me for a long period of time, which I would like to ask you. But before that, I would request Mohan Chandra sir to share his views, and specifically when you focused on the forests and the environment, perhaps Mohan sir, you could also throw some light on that. Sir, over to you. Mohan sir?
Yeah, Chavi.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. It is a wonderful presentation, Professor Krishna Raj. Actually, the debate or the tussle or controversy centering around economics and environment, I think, is well known. As I was saying, when you went offline because of some technical issues, so what I was saying that yes, this topic or this debate is being used by various stakeholders for various purposes. Either sometime to greenwash or eyewash the people, sometime to really highlight, like we are discussing here, some real cause that yes, you had some real genuine concern, or sometime at the very, very big international fora, then we could make very tall claim of that we are going for sustainable development and we'll do this, that. I being government servant, I'm not very open. I'm not supposed to be very open and very, very candid in this aspect. I have to restrain myself, but somehow the hard realities in the field, I mean, in the ground, say so. Nevertheless, as you have rightly said, it is a very hot topic, and with the recent commitment of India that we are going for net zero, I'm really very I'm happy and also surprised also that, and I'm really puzzled that how we are going to meet such a vast challenge of going net zero, because there are a lot of issues, be it livelihood issue related to which come after the which we start going to reduce the coal dependency, a very big sector with which millions of people are involved, either directly or indirectly. That is being one. Second part is that regarding switching to alternate energy, So it has its own limitation. I mean, the net availability of the alternatives is really not very, very promising. Maybe around 30–40% of you are going to get only up, even after spending millions of rupees. Though it doesn't mean that we should not do our, our bit. We need to continue our effort toward net zero. Coming to second part, as you are saying, it is basically, in my view, in fact, Professor Raj has beautifully explained the theoretical part and also the real issues behind that. But what really bothers me that, so this is the biggest challenge for the both for the administrator or the policymaker or thinker or researcher or even for common people, that how we really bring synergy between two. We keep on saying that there should be balance between environment development. There should be a balance. We should try to that. We are doing this much toward environmental this thing. And despite the fact that we have one of the best EP Act in the world, we are very, very good at legislation. Especially India's legislation are very, very pakka, what you can say. Be it EP Act of 86 or be it the historic Conservation Act of 1980, which is the outcome of really once that 1976 amendment was there. And I think we must congratulate or the then government and really appreciate the effort and concern of late Mrs. Gandhi, that under whose time actually the really environment and forest could get some real concern. Actually, in fact, leaving all politics and all these things, she was the really green leader, I must say that.
Correct.
And it was she actually who, for the first time in Stockholm, she dared to say whole world that yes, no, the poverty is the biggest polluter. So at that time, otherwise, all developed countries, they used to bulldoze the developing world like anything, and they keep on that day. She put a challenge before, and from that moment, actually the developing country also started thinking, yes, then it came the issue of equitable distribution, equitable responsibility. So who is polluter pay concept also, in fact, after that, it is outcome of that. If you are really polluting, so you should be only responsible. Like developed country, now we are asking. The different thing that there are a lot of bottlenecks in getting the desired result in this aspect. Okay, coming to that, see again, it comes a question of priority. Are we really prioritizing the environmental concern? Whether we have the best legislation, we have the best act, everywhere, the language is very good and it appears that objective seems to be very, very attractive, as if we really fulfill, but what is happening? But in the field, it is getting translated into the desired intervention. See, any policy decision, whether it is an environmental policy or EP Act or Environmental Act or your FC Act, it has been translated because after Act there should be rules and regulations. Then after the rules and regulations, there comes a compliance. So I will just see first as a priority. So let me see the priority concept. See, for business or economic development, we have so much priority and we have shown to the world also that yes, we are really serious. I'll give a simple example. Professor has given our ranking and all these things, that our ranking in the EP environmental this thing is very poor, that 168 out of 180, which is really a poor concern. Similarly, we are almost, I think you all know that out of 30 world polluted cities, we are having 22. It is a very bad distinction. But same time, if you see the other side, if you take the economics on that side, we are improving a lot, because there is only one indicator, what is called EODB, ease of doing business. And you remember, if you that EOD business at present actually, sorry, there are some calls in that. So if you see the EODB index of India, see the improvement over the last 3 years. 2017, we are having at 100. And 2019, we have improved and we have gone up to 63. What does it mean? I mean, we are really concerned about that economic development. So we are achieving, we are showing the result. But why it is not happening in the case of environment? I have simple question. It simply says that there is no priority. There is no, required, whether it is the input of finance, what is input of institutional intervention, whether it is a question of giving priority to various sector under environment. So this, unless this is removed or unless that is done, I think we will not able to do a good balance in very simple terms as of now. Then coming to that, as I was saying, EP Act also, we have told about EP Act, and we have subsequent act also. For example, we have Air Act, we have Water Act, which are the major, because once the issue of pollution comes into picture, then always we look into that, which are the acts and rules which are being used for controlling these aspects, whether it is air pollution or water pollution or any kind of solid waste, whatever the area may be. So here also is a very big thing. See, we are also having, in spite of having good legislation, good act and all these things, there is a lack in compliance. There is a provisions are very, very attractive, and one of the best provision, if you see the EP Act or if you see the punishment part, if you see all these things, if you really in a textbook pattern, if you comply with these instructions, we can get fantastic results. But it is not so in that. It is not happening in that way. So we are lacking in the compliance. So compliance is getting compromised. So is the result of this. Reasons may be different. Maybe really reason of livelihood issue, as in the case of forest, because we are not able to control, because you have huge dependency of almost millions of people, they are depending on forest area. Millions of your cattle, they go to forest for their grazing. Millions of people, they are encroaching the forest land because they don't have land. So there are equitable issues come into picture. So these issues, unless we address these issues, how can we expect that the desired result will be in expectation of a good policy outcome? So I think these issues require little bit introspection. If you really want to go to net zero, if you really want to achieve good progress in the API index, if you really want to say that our forests are still, they are not in the process of degradation, so we will have to do really some drastic policy intervention. That may be really drastic, means it sometimes you can come as even the anti people even the some people. Unless you have to be ruthless for compliance of that thing, whether these, so there are social issues, there are economic issues, there are political issues always. For example, your recognition of forest rights, a lot of political issues are there. So it is not getting translated into the desired dimension. It is somehow the real objective is getting diverted and some other things are coming into picture. So is the case of forest and all these things. Forest is getting diverted, that is bad. But in view of that, are we going to get the quality forest? Are you really having that kind of mechanism to that thing? Or our systems are in place to ensure that thing? So these issues also require worth consideration, worth introspection and rethinking, and if required, we have to reorient and change our strategy, so that really in the coming time we can achieve the objective, whether it is a net zero or the sustainable development. We can tell our name, question of naming and all these things. Every year you give a new name to that. Sometimes you say HD, sometimes say net zero, sometimes say zero carbon kind of thing. In fact, this year actually we have shifted. We started our year with the 2021 to 30 decade of your UN decade of restoration. So at that time, everybody was talking of forest restoration. Lastly, and in December, we are asking, saying that everything emission, net zero, carbon, nothing else. So that as per time and circumstances, we are changing our slogans, all these things. But in the core, we have only one this thing, whether are we going to achieve this? So from my side, it is only the answer. But thank you, Professor, your nice presentation on the subject. It was really a very wonderful introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable comments, and also they are very pertinent in the context of present policy circumstance in India. So how to achieve all these targets is a big question, and how to synergize economic and environmental policies, that is also very important. Yeah, I really enjoyed your discussion.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mohan sir, for raising those very important points, and also highlighting how the priorities of the policies change, and to that extent, what is being compromised is the overall environment, and perhaps environmental justice, that is justice, pun intended, being meted out to the people at large. So thank you so much. There is a question, sir, if you can take this, Professor Raj. It is very pertinent in the sense that, sir, environment degradation is having its impact on education and students. As you know, perhaps you have also written on it, judicial intervention has led to the closure of schools and colleges in Delhi. The Delhi government spent crores of rupees for a smog tower, which has now proven to be useless. The Delhi Child Rights Commission very recently has said that children stand to lose in this manner. Closure of schools and air pollution, in all ways they are at the risk. So this tug of war over who is right will continue, and the children will continue to suffer. What do you think is the way out?
Yeah, it is a very the question which cannot be answered at all, because we are in the system where the pollution plays an important role here. The pollution made schools being closed in Delhi, and we are the victims of pollution, and even children are victims of pollution. And when the government on the one hand tries to overcome the problem through introduction of some technological gadgets putting everywhere that costs very high also at the same time. On the other hand, the issue is that even though they are placing such smoke gadgets and instruments, they are not positioned in to overcome that air pollution in Delhi. So it shows that the magnanimity or the of the problem. The problem is not created in a day or night, in 1 day or 2 days. It has been created and accumulated over a period of time. So the same has been discussed in my article also. We have created such a infrastructure, such an industrial base in Delhi and surrounding area, and also there are various interacting circumstances. They are playing an important role in creating such a polluted environment in Delhi. So that does not get solved unless we have a long-term plan. So the long-term plan, even we can think of, is that restructuring the economic activities in and around the Delhi, and especially identifying the polluting industries and shifting them away from the Delhi NCR. That would be one of the way one can think of resolving this problem. Apart from that, what is more important is that, there are costs always imposed on the society. So the cost side, including the health cost, the environmental costs, and other social costs, we need to consider when we do interact with every day in market. We, being the consumers, we should restrict the products which are produced by the highly polluting industries. Say, for example, when we are purchasing a vehicle or when we are purchasing a goods, we need to restrict ourselves what we need to consume or what we need not consume. I just give an example. So I was interacting with the grandson of Mahatma Gandhi, Arun Gandhi, recently in one of the seminars where I made presentation, and he was the discussant on my presentation. So he gave one beautiful example about the environmental violence. The environmental violence may be classified into two: active violence and passive violence. So he talked about passive violence. The passive violence is that, so once the Arun Gandhi, the grandson of Mahatma Gandhi, asked his grandfather get a new pencil. Then Mahatma Gandhi has asked Arun Gandhi, where is the old pencil? So then the boy told him that the old pencil was very small one, and I used it, and therefore I thrown it away. I need a new pencil. Then Mahatma Gandhi has asked him to bring back that pencil, then I'll give you a new pencil. Then this boy in the night, he searched and got that pencil back, and so show it to Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi told him that, see, this pencil, still you can use it for some more days. So then I will get you the new pencil. So the message he has sent to that grandson is that, so we are wasting the resources. So the passive violence is that wasting the resources at the individual level, at the industrial level, at the government level. So that is coming from the environment itself, ecosystem itself. Pencil, we are taking out more forests and more resources. So in this way, we need to learn a lesson out of this example, is that we should avoid both active violence and passive violence. Active violence is that directly threatening the environment, directly exploiting the environment, and indirectly wasting the resources. So in this way, we have to learn and learn things, and we need to change the production and consumption system where we avoid the active and passive violence. Active and passive violence. So I don't see active in your contacts. Who do you want to send it to? Yeah.
Right.
I didn't catch that. Could you try again?
I think it's Google Assistant or something.
Yeah, I don't know where it is coming actually. I am not. Okay.
No issues. Yeah, so definitely, you have really raised the point that I was actually wanting to move towards. The whole aspect of violence, and it has its implications on justice.
Yeah.
And when you talk about environmental degradation and the economic policies, you made the presentation, the first few slides that you were talking about, and so it has been also argued, on the other side, that environmental degradation is actually now reverberating and impacting economic growth. So you had mentioned that economic growth is impacting environmental degradation, and there is another school of thought which is just saying the opposite, that because of environmental degradation, what we are seeing is negative or declining economic growth and the like. So it seems that it is actually a very vicious relationship, and the argument seems to be on which side of the ideological fence you are on. So now when we see there's a lot of policy emphasis on low carbon, greenwashing is there, sustainable and resilient growth path, and all these new fundamental principles are coming up and taking they are now very much in fashion, so as to say, in policy discourses. So very recently we saw that the government, in its Vision 2030, it also included environmental objectives, which was something very new for us, specifically when it is being incorporated in the budget of India. It also included ease of living, pollution-free India, and also clean rivers. But what essentially happened was that no concrete measures were discussed. So in the absence of such concrete measures, simply laying out ambitious goals in front of the public is actually not going to help. There is, moving towards where are we going ahead in the coming decades, for example, we have a window of opportunity. I mean, as IPCC is also, warning us repeatedly, and also we can see it in front of us. There, we need to just take advantage of that little small window of opportunity that is there to make a transformation. And given that major structural changes that is occurring across the globe, including urbanization, growing middle class, and even pandemics for that matter, changing consumption preferences, and shifts to service-based economies, there is a lot of automation, etc. The question that arises is, how do we seize this opportunity with actually the urgency that is required to tackle global changing climate and environmental crisis? So in your views, sir, where do you see, how do we make a shift to that transition? Should it be piecemeal approach, or should we just be very proactive in terms of saving the environment, for that matter? And can India take the lead? Yes, sir.
Yeah, you are very right in your approach in asking such a very beautiful question, where we stand. Actually, my lecture stands in this way. Let me explain very clearly. So environment and economy, they should go hand in hand. On the one hand, I explained. On the other hand, in the beginning, the economy has started affecting the environment up to certain level. So now the environment has started affecting the economy. So it is reverse way. First, we started, we have given importance for economic growth and economic development. In this process, the environment is being affected. So we have reached a stage where now the economies are being affected by the environment. So it means that the pollution, the water pollution, the climate change, even cities, traffic congestions. So you take any sector, any region, anywhere throughout the world, the environmental degradation is affecting the economy. Or in other words, the economic cost of environment is increasing day by day. It may be health cost, or it may be, say for example, even the Stern report, Economics of Climate Change. In that report, it has clearly stated that the economies are going to spend nearly 5% of their GDP to overcome the climate change. So it is well established already. The environment started imposing cost on the everybody's life, including us. So this is the way we need to adapt to the new situation, and there are policies to mitigate the climate change. So in this circumstance, what earlier I just mentioned, the Gandhian philosophy of active and passive violence. So we need to drastically change the economy in terms of green economy, last part of my presentation, where we need to integrate environmental and economic accounting. And we have to reduce the individual level, the ecological footprints. At the government level, we need to bring drastic policy changes towards achieving low carbon economy. And in this way, one can think of depending on more non-fossil fuel energy resources that will reduce the climate change. On the other hand, we have to reduce the consumption of goods and services, wasting the resources. And we need to reprioritize what are the industries which are required, and we need to reduce the waste generation by the industry, recycle them, reuse them. That is triple R, reduce, reuse, and recycle. And at the same time, energy efficiency is more important at household level, at the industry level, at the government level. We need to reduce the energy wastage, or energy efficiency should be achieved. So every sector requires a complete reshaping of the our approach towards how we live, how we produce, how we consume, and how we manage the resources, how we conserve the resources for future generation. Altogether, a complete reshaping of the economy or restructuring of the economy is required.
Absolutely. No, fully agree with you, sir. And thank you for presenting your views on where and how, or rather, what is the way forward. So thank you so much. In fact, I would just want to invite Mohan, sir, if you would like to share your views on the way forward, and I would then request Krishna Raj sir to conclude. Mohan sir, would you have any points that you would want to make in terms of how we should proceed or move forward in terms of environmental governance in India?
Yeah, Simi. See, as rightly narrated by Professor Krishna Raj, we need to have a balanced approach with selected priorities. You cannot do overnight some drastic changes that, yes, we'll start doing revolutionary changes that will not allow anything, or we'll be very, strict on compliance of whatsoever environmental regulations are there. I think we need to have a pragmatic approach, and we see which is the topmost, area which we start with. Unless we prioritize the action, see, there are a series of action, number 1 to 100, and there are certainly prioritized action also. But we have to see that in the process, see other aspect of life, that unless along with this, we have to also see it is not the environment which is in isolation, because it has so many ramifications. It is related with your equity, rights and all these things. It has related with the finances, it has with the social aspect, it has the political ramifications, it has in the economic aspect. So we need to have an inclusive kind of approach whenever you are doing, and that also we have to start slowly. But before that, there should be a strong political will also for that. So that is very, very, very must, because unfortunately, what is happening when the question, and most of the environmental issue, many of them are related to CPR, what is the common property resources, be it water, be it land, be it forest. So they are not in the priority item of many component of the society. Be the political society, be the business society, be even for the poor people also. They may be having concern, but for their concern for their livelihood, the first and then the second environment. So this is the problem with the environment, that it is affecting everybody, but for that it is not getting the required priority and required concentration from all of them, because somehow and in the process we are in a position that we are comfortably accepting that kind of compromises, because it is not directly affecting me. So I say, it is not affecting me. I have money, I will have something, I will purchase power, I will purchase this thing, I will purchase this thing. So it is not affecting, but in general it is affecting society. But somehow that kind of awareness is not getting into action. So that's why, keeping all these as a complicated issue, we should have a provision of, let us start with some inclusive policy where all concerned, genuine concern, which are having more priority, they are taken first. Later on, we can say this is second priority, over taking third priority. We see that, because then keeping a balanced kind of thing. So if really that is done, then certainly we can have something that we can say, yes, we are, if not completely achieving our desired goal, at least we are near to that goal, or we are doing some justice for that sector. So that should be an approach, I think, which can help you. Though it is really, really difficult task, because over the last 30 years also we have not done any serious attempts. The serious attempt, I am saying, we have the very good legislation, we have the very act and all these things, but somehow because of various reasons, maybe socio-political, maybe economical reason, it is political reason, or the other reason also, it is purely not translating into action. So let us find out what are the reason, and once we find out, let us, formulate strategy which are, I think, which we can take for both, so we can result in a win-win situation kind of thing. Yes, it is for environment also to be good, and for the economic aspect to be good, or for the people with which we are involved, they are also not getting suffered unduly. So that should be approach, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So I would like to request Professor Krishna Raj to share his concluding thoughts, if you have, sir, and if you could just briefly also talk about or share your views on, how the government would design an effective environmental policy for by actually working in tandem with the private sector, and also by engaging citizens, because it actually affects them, and it cannot be made in isolation. So the importance, if you could also share about greater participation, civil society or private sector, and perhaps this would give enough confidence or unity, then we could have a good or efficient environmental governance. And if you could just conclude your thoughts. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. It is a very good question indeed. The democracy in which we are living has provided an opportunity to every one of us to raise our voice. So raising voice in terms of what we need, what type of economic development we need. And each citizen has every right to raise their voice, because we are living in a world, it is highly polarized in the sense that there are peoples are divided on the economic class, say the rich and the poor. The poor are being affected at the cost of the rich. They are enriching themselves, exploiting these natural resources. I can give many examples how in the world the people have become rich, exploiting the natural resources that privilege are given by the government to them, including, if you take in Karnataka, the mining activities that took place, how they become rich within a few years. And so this clearly shows that the government needs to listen to the people's voices. The people's voice is that what type of development they need, and how the resources of the nation should be shared and distributed equitably, and how the governance system should work. Most of the policies, even economic policies and environmental policies, they are not being discussed in a larger forum, and the views of the larger sections of the society is not being taken into account before implementing them. So where the government is failing, the institutions are failing, and the governance is failing, overall governance is failing. So therefore, participatory approach is very much required. We don't know what type of economic developments are required for the Indian people. So Indians really don't need the capitalism imposed on them. It is not the country which is imbibing the policies of some Western countries. So we certainly need a policy, economic development policy, which is exclusively for India, not for the economic policies pursued elsewhere. So even the Western countries are changing. Say, for example, I told you just now, the CD countries, they have changed completely. If you look at Switzerland, if you look at Netherlands, if you look at other countries, Germany, so their vehicles are almost running on the electric support, electric cells. So they have changed their approach about economic development. Long back, they have changed their approach. They are moving on the path of sustainable development. Whereas in case of India and other countries, especially China, we are moving on the directions of destructive economic development, which is imposing cost on the society, imposing the cost on the future generation. So therefore, we need to drastically change our economic policies, and they should be oriented towards sustainable development goals and paths and principles and practices. Then only we can think of achieving sustainable development in India.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. This has been a really interesting and insightful discussion indeed. It was wonderful conversing with you and listening to you actually, and actually understanding how we could save ourselves from the code red, which the UN Secretary General has remarked, and in fact provided a caveat that unless and until we really roll up our sleeves and get our acts together, we are really in for a really not very comfortable time ahead. And this is for the entire humanity. And India has a great role to play, and certainly the governance needs to really imbibe all the values, all the inputs that go into an efficient that would lead to an efficient governance and administration of administration in the country. And this would also require the rural urban conundrum to be resolved, I believe. And much focus has also been on urban environment and urban ecology, but certainly we have to focus on the rural as well. So thank you so much to you, Professor. And on behalf of I would like to propose the formal vote of thanks on behalf of the IMPRI Center for Environment, Climate Change and Sustainable Development. This has been wonderful talking to you, Professor Krishna Raj. Thank you for sharing your views and for sparing your time early in the morning today. I know you've been busy with your work as well. So it was really wonderful talking to you. And also much thanks and gratitude to Mohan Chandra sir for sparing your time. This is a working day and you've been able to join us and you've been able to share your perspectives being a government servant. And thank you to all our attendees, participants here on Zoom, and all those who are watching us on Facebook live, and to all those who would be watching us later on YouTube and listening to the program on the different podcasts. Thank you so much, and I wish you all a very, very good day ahead and remaining rest of the year 2021.
Thank you, Simi, and thank you, Professor Arjun, and thank you, Professor Raj.
Thank you.
Looking forward.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. We look forward to learning more from you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Simi and Arjun and the forest officer. What is his name?
Mohan, sir.
Yeah, this is
sorry, Mohan Chandra. Thank you so much for very interactive session, and I'm really happy to come back and discuss with you wherever it is possible. Mohan Chandra, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes, we're looking forward for it.
Yes,
that's very encouraging. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.